And there. Hey,
Hey,
hey, how are you?
great. It's so nice to see you.
Nice to see you. Can you hear me okay?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Awesome.
So am I supposed to turn my ringer off or on? Leave it off because it won't affect us talking?
I don't know.
I don't either. It's so much fun, right? All these new things. It's so wonderful to see you.
Wonderful to see you.
Awesome.
I'm so excited for you. How long have you been working on this book?
Well, maybe all my life, right?
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. So
Yeah.
for those of you who don't know Lois, we could say that she is she's many things, but we could say she is the leading expert in cranial nerves. So that might not mean anything to you guys, but I did take one of her classes and my mind was blown. And I took the deceptively simple instructions that she gave us and applied it to my children. I have a child with Down syndrome and a child with cerebral palsy. And I could just say one of the benefits was my son Jet with Down syndrome did not sleep through the night for 11 years. And after doing what Lois said, and you all know if your child doesn't sleep, neither do you. So none of us slept a whole night through for 11 years. And then after I did what Lois told me to do, very interesting things that she tells you to do, Jet slept through the night for the first time at age 11. So,
Oh, isn't that wonderful?
yes, and that was a game changer. So thank you, Lois.
You are welcome. And let's get this information to moms when the baby's, how about 3 days old?
Yeah, that would be that would.
Yes, women everywhere would be in a whole new space, wouldn't they?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And I love Lois so much that I had her speak at the Down Syndrome Options Conference in February, and made her speak many times because we needed her up on stage for several reasons. So thank you, Lois, for that.
You are welcome.
Yeah.
My pleasure.
So I'm excited that you guys get to take a little piece of Lois with you. You guys can download it for free right now, or you can get yourselves a hard copy on Amazon. So Lois, what is your book about? What is it about?
I thought long and hard, and I changed the title about 16 times because everything that makes sense to me about neuroplasticity and what people want to know, it doesn't make sense. So finally, I got down to the metaphor of a game. So it's winning at the game of health. So if you think about it in those terms, quote, you have to have all your bases covered. You've got to look at the different things, and you always got to practice. So no matter what your position would be in a sporting event, there you work on certain things that in your left brain, per se, you would not think that I am doing X, which is going to help me hit a baseball. Okay?
Yeah.
But when you take somebody and they're just a smidgen out of sync, and you apply, well, of course, you do a cranial nerve assessment and you do a neurological assessment to know where is the loose wire or where is the fuse that isn't as strong as what the muscle system is. And that's what people don't understand is you've got to upgrade your nervous system as you grow. Otherwise, who wants a 3-year-old nervous system when you're 7 years old? Your nervous system to the size of body you are. And when that happens, amazing things happen. So that was my metaphor that I used. But I've been working on it forever. I wanted to give nature the credit because, if you just sit back and have the optimal environment, say for a dog, which was my beginning, for puppies, nature takes over. And I think what happens in us is we want to help and we mess up nature. Just like if our perception of, the cocoon as being stuck and needs our help, we're going to cause demise. We know what the potential is. The potential is the butterfly, but it turns into there through a struggle and us not intervening. So the difference between what nature has to offer versus what can we see when the struggle isn't a natural struggle, it's a dysfunctional struggle, okay? It's an incomplete, they don't have all the building blocks. And that's what cranial nerves are. If your cranial nerves can't figure where is air and how to put it in your lungs, okay, nothing else matters. Writing doesn't matter, crawling doesn't matter, sitting up, chewing. That differentiation of the nervous system is so incomplete that every breath is a struggle and it requires all of its energy. So when I love how people think, well, we have this label and this, and time out, let's make sure you've got all the spark plugs in your car, so to speak. You've got the right equipment to do your game, and then make sure you've been trained properly in all your environments. And when that happens, sit back and just enjoy life. And that's the key. The people that I have in mind for this book are when people do have a struggle and they are putting forth effort and they're not at all getting the return on their investment of time, energy, and resources. And that is like, you can win at this game. Now, everyone's definition of winning is different. My definition of winning, if I was to run a race, could be, 10-minute mile. And your definition of winning could be a 4.2-minute mile. So, right, we all have our own personal goals. But when it comes to breathing, when it comes to chewing, when it comes to swallowing, digestion, sleep, everything natural, you shouldn't have to struggle in that arena. So when that arena is taken care of first, now we can sit back and look, all right, the basics are taken care of. However, the basics are the essentials. When those are taken care of, now how can we help the system grow or learn? Or what do you want to do new? So it's about that. And I've tried to structure it so that yes, I've worked on my diet, but maybe I didn't know about this. And so it's a general overview. It's not covering everything. I don't want to make it big. When people sit there and say, I was referred to you, but I don't know what you do. And I go, well, I do 867 billion things. So instead of us talking about it all, let's do an assessment, because if you need one thing, I may be the person to help you, but I'm a really good detective. And I'm going to get you to the person that can help you do whatever it is, because you may have 90% of everything done. You need 10% in this one specific area. So that's what I enjoy doing most for people. If they think about it or they refer to me, they can download the book, they can read the book now, and then they can say, oh, this is something I want to do. Or they can say, no, I don't want to do this yet, which is totally fine, because I put in there 5 exercises that resynchronize the cranial nerves with the nervous system, with the brain, with the motor programs in an essential way, not in whatever. However, those 5 exercises, everyone wants to, have the bar being a professional athlete. But when you do that as a baseball player, they can hit home runs, and I can't divulge the person, but one person was interviewed and said, so what was the difference of this year compared to last year? And the baseball player said, well, I was taught to put my lips together and to hum right before I hit, and that's the most people give me clues. Or they'll say, well, I work with Superman and Lois, or, you know, they'll say something like that. Whatever. But
So,
the thing is, these natural things shouldn't be hard.
yeah. So now if someone who, like if someone, like who should read your book? Like what problem would they have that if they read your book, they could find the answer?
Well, the answers is they need to, it gives them a basic roadmap. It gives them direction. So then they know, hey, I haven't looked at this area first. You know, I'm not measuring my oxygen, or I'm not measuring this, or I'm not measuring that. And understand that all the bases have to be covered if we rebuild health.
So if someone had their, you know, cranial nerves are out of whack, or what kind of symptoms would they see? I know, like with my son, he didn't sleep through the night, and you know, he had trouble breathing. So what other things would people notice that they have a problem with?
I love that. Rarely does anyone notice they have a problem. Cranial nerves are different because they're autonomic. Okay, so which means they're automatic. So I don't know, I have trouble swallowing. Someone else may notice that about me. And you know how unsolicited advice may not be taken care of so well. But moms notice when their children are struggling. Okay, so the obvious ones people would notice is they have trouble sleeping. Okay, or now there's a great awareness that they are having trouble breathing. In the context of they know they breathe with their mouth open. So there's a huge awareness between now and 25 years ago when I was teaching and people were like, breathing? What does that have to do with anything? So it's wonderful. It's wonderful that that awareness is more. But the other thing is people don't notice that they can't smell because they smell with their eyes open. So your memory supports your recollection and your retrieval of something, but it doesn't mean you have that differentiation. But then there's so much research and there's so much undergoing way right now that the key truly is cranial nerve number one. If there's limited smell, you could have a minimum of 50% cognitive decline.
Wow.
So as much as that is information, wow, how can we help?
Yeah.
Working on one cranial nerve could change it. Now, the missing link is that cranial nerves are all linked together. So yes, we can work on one, but we need the rest of the branches like to all support each other. So it's nothing is ever independent. They don't have that independence.
So if you wanted to test yourself, so you take like, you know, essential oils or something, like how far away would it be? Like a typical person could smell it, like how far away?
Somebody else would have to test you. You can't tell yourself because then you know what you're doing.
Okay, I got
it. See, that's the key. And that's why my real first book was a cranial nerve assessment. And then I'm like, nobody's going to know what to do. Why would they do that? Okay, maybe 100 people in the world will say, hey, I've been waiting to do one. So that's the next book. It's already written, ready to go. We're just updating the diagrams. Awesome. But it's really someone else has to test you. And traditionally, that's what all physicians used to do. I remember when I was a kid, I'd always fly around and land in bushes as I was a daredevil on my bike. And I remember having, all these thorny twigs in my head. And my good old Dr. Rothenberg was there, scared the crap out of me, had a great big mustache, waxy, curly, oh my goodness. And he had a deep voice, scared the crap out of me. And he told me to open my mouth and say, and close my eyes. And I looked at him and I said, what's wrong with you? My head right here. I'm like 6 years old. I'm instructing the doctor what he's doing wrong. And he started laughing, and my mother was so embarrassed, and she goes, Lois, shh. And he was so cute. He goes, no, no, we want to answer all children's questions. And he goes, well, let me explain. When you hit your head, you could also damage other parts. And we want to make sure your throat is strong, because that's where you talk and breathe. Okay? And you can tell cranial nerve function from your throat. So whoever looks in your throat, it's the scariest part of the body for most people. And it's the most intimate. So in dentistry, we spend a lot of time with throats, but our throats are already compromised because they're laying back. Okay, but working with your throat from a neurological point of view, that is the key to changing everything to grow and to regain your health. And they're doing it a lot in athletes now, you know, especially women's soccer. You get hit in the head, come to the sideline, they know how to do a quick 3-minute cranial nerve assessment. They'll take them in the locker room. Do they recover? Good. If they don't recover, they're out. So again, you're not going to know yourself, because when you get hit in the head, everyone says, what? Are you okay? And what's the first thing everyone says? I'm fine. Okay. Because the brainstem says, oh, she's alive. She's not dead. And in that context, they're fine. Why would I ever take the opinion of something that doesn't know how to assess themselves? See, my brain can assess my cranial nerves. Mm-hmm. Okay, if my cranial nerves are damaged or the sensors aren't fully, emitting, then the brain can't receive data. So the brain can only function based upon what it received. So if one cranial nerve is down to 25% effectiveness, the brain just goes, oh, this is my new norm. I'm going on with life. And then I just drain the battery of, my adrenals. And then I drain the battery of this. And I drain the battery of that, because my cranial nerves can't function and regulate my oxygen properly. But no patient ever walks in and says, I think the biochemistry of my breathing needs to be analyzed because I've noticed that my body temperature is a little different, blah, 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 blah. So guess what they say? Cold hands, what?
Warm heart?
Yes. Do you know neurologically what's truth? Cold hands, cold brain. Cold brain, not enough blood flow. You are half alive.
So now, what about the people who have a diagnosis of sleep apnea and then they're on the CPAP? So are they cured? Are they done? Can they breathe?
Well, you can't make a global statement because I'm not a medical doctor and we can't, I'm not going against a diagnosis. Diagnoses are about treatments. So here's what I say. A cranial nerve dysfunction. Let's say you have 5 cranial nerves that are dysfunctional on the right and 2 that are on the left. Okay. I could have sleep apnea and you could have insomnia.
Okay.
So our neural pathways and our neurological mapping is totally unique. The day I walked is different than the day you walked. My structures, my injury, my little, stuff in my head when I was a kid, all of us are mapped differently. So cranial nerves do not have like lights on, lights off. So it's like a power grid. Some of them are stronger, some of them are weaker, and we can have totally different symptoms. So that's why the favorite one when people come is they want me to help a child talk. And maybe the child hasn't talked and they're 5 years old. Mm-hmm. Their mom is used to the child not having regular bowel movement, not sleeping through the night. Right? But they want the child to talk. So we do a cranial nerve assessment. I try to explain it to them. They're here for cause and effect. They just want this to be over because everyone's sleep deprived. So we start, and I always tell them after 1 week, so tell me the 3 things you notice that are different that you think are unrelated. And they said, well, he had the biggest bowel movement and he's had one every day. And I said, is that new or typical? And he goes, oh no, he usually goes once a week. but she didn't care that that was significant. And then they go, you know, he is sleeping in his own bed and he's sleeping through the night. And I go, is that typical? They go, oh, no, he rarely ever does that. Okay, but he still doesn't talk. You know? And I said, well, your brain is going to reorganize yourself in its own time, because your brainstem is about keeping you alive. And your brain talking is totally elective. You can communicate totally without talking. So for survival of a brain and a body, the brainstem is sitting there going, get rid of the crap and get my bowels moving. We're talking. Okay, sleep is more important. Breathing is more important. Elimination is more important. And elimination is way more important than eating, you know, because we got to get the out before the in. So every person's different. You can do the same cranial nerve activation for 100 different reasons.
For sure. Now, I saw on there something that I know my husband would really like to read, but it's the last chapter. It says 5 exercises to give your body a net gain in energy.
Right, because those are the things that that I have to share with them. They're very, very specific because they organize and they integrate the entire neural pathway. So they start with the cranial nerve, they integrate it to the cerebellum, they go up to the sensory cortex, the motor cortex, and then back down to the body. So it's about the right side of the brain has to be in sync with the cranial nerves. The left side of the brain has to be in sync with the cranial nerves. Then the right and left have to be in sync at the same time with each other. And then we get to move on to the other parts with the body. So that's what it is. So again, you're going to have to do a whole neural pathway loop and sync up in order to sleep. You have to have all cranial nerve function in sync to have autonomic breathing. So you think of, you know, cranial nerves are about autonomic breathing, autonomic sleeping, taking in nutrition, however that is, hearing, sight, taste, and smell. But people don't realize that if I don't smell, it could affect my ability to read. If I don't smell and interpret it, I will never eat properly, because I think about where the nose is, okay? And you know kids who have, you know, misinterpretation of smell. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's a brain and neurological problem. We got to rewire that, and we got to get that to work before the child's going to chew and eat. On the other hand, if you have crooked teeth and every time a child bites, they bite their tongue, well, they could have a fine smell, but it's the anatomy. So that's the fun part in physio and neurology. Okay, it takes into the anatomy, the biomechanics, the bioelectricity, and of course, the biochemistry. So all of that together with the maps and function of cranial nerves, you get natural function. And then you get calm dinner table, easy life, bedtime. I mean, you do have to give up some of the digital world.
Yeah. Yes. So the exercises that you have in your book, like, can anybody do it at home?
Yeah.
Do you have to buy expensive equipment? Do they have to?
Their thumb.
Their thumb.
A Q-tip.
Okay. Maybe a Q-tip or two?
A Q-tip or two. Yeah. And we're not going to put them in your ears, because that clearly is violating the directions on the box.
Clearly. All right, awesome. So what was your favorite chapter to write?
Oh, that's a good one. I don't even know if I have a favorite. I had to take out a lot of stuff. So it was fun talking about the puppies at the very beginning.
I was wondering if you had that story in there. Yeah, you guys, I have heard the story and I love the story, and it is like amazing. It just kind of shows you like who Lois is and like how her brain works, like from the very beginning. And yes, you guys got to read the book just for that story.
It is. It
Let's
is.
get
It's,
into that.
you know, and then after puppies, I went on to ducks, you know. So my goal is to have a little miniature farm with little miniature animals, and they're all going to have strong nervous systems.
Awesome. So now everyone can download the book for free, like right now, right?
Right. And Amazon seems to have a little dance here, and that they want you to join. You don't have to join anything. And Kindle, when you even download Kindle, it'll be read by Apple products. Now, I don't know about Android because I'm not technology savvy, but you can download it for free. No matter what they tell you or you have to do something, you can.
Okay, awesome.
And then Canada has its own Amazon and its own thing. So for Canada, you can just go into your own Amazon and type in Lois Laynee and it'll come up, or you can type in winning at the Game of Health and it'll go straight to that.
Perfect. And then if we want a hard copy?
You can buy a hard copy. They started actually selling the hard copies at midnight. No one told me.
Oh, so we have to wait till midnight?
No, midnight this morning.
Oh, okay,
so
okay.
It's already been selling.
Oh, awesome.
I know. Shocked. I'm the last to know.
That's so exciting. All right. So I can't wait to share this interview in my Facebook groups so that parents can know that they can start with this stuff at home, start with the basics, build it up, and then they can go to Lois and she can tweak it. And because I know kids that have the diagnosis of sleep apnea and they've got the CPAP, but they can't even get the CPAP on. I know.
Right. And again, that's cranial nerve dysfunction because they can't receive touch and breathe. So that's what people don't understand. If you have a dysfunction on cranial number 5, you can't touch your pillow and breathe. You could have a dysfunction in cranial nerve number 10 and you can't lay on the side of your head, touch your ear and breathe. You know, everything is, I need to see and breathe. I need to look and breathe. I need to hear and breathe. I need to smell and breathe. I need to taste and breathe. Everything has to be quintuply organized, simultaneously synchronized. And that's what gives you amazing health and wellness.
Well, I am excited to read this book and to share it with everybody. Thank you so much, Lois, for taking the time.
Thank you. You know, the other thing I was going to say, if you go to the website, restoringbreathing.com, yeah, I also have 10 steps that are beyond. These are very specific what to do. And if you go onto the website, there's also some demonstrations that
Cool. So you got some videos of you showing some of how to do some of this? Yay. That's awesome. All right. Well, anything else you wanted to add?
No, it's just thank you for doing this, and I appreciate it. And I can't wait for more parents to have kids sleep through the night.
Yeah, that's for sure. That would be amazing. And, you know, having some bowel movements and being able to breathe, that would be good too.
All those natural things that if you don't have it, it's a tough day. And when you have it, it's a grateful day.
Yes, awesome. Thank you so much, Lois.
You're welcome. Talk to you soon.
Okay, bye.
Bye, Andi.